Okay, we've all been there, right? You get super motivated, decide you're going to build a great new habit, maybe exercise more, eat healthier, meditate, whatever it is. You start off strong, and then a week, maybe two later, you're right back where you started. It's so frustrating. But what if the reason we fail has nothing to do with our willpower? What if it's all about our strategy? Well, that's what we're going to dig into.
I mean, it is that universal feeling, isn't it? You set this huge, ambitious New Year's resolution, and by the time February rolls around, all that motivation is just gone. And what's the advice we always get? Just try harder, be more disciplined. But let's be honest, for most of us, that advice just plain doesn't work. So today we're going to look at the science behind why it doesn't work, and I'll tell you, there's a completely different approach that's way more effective.
All right, so first things first, let's tackle the biggest myth out there when it comes to changing our behavior. For decades, we've been sold this idea that building good habits is just a battle of willpower. But what if that idea is the very thing setting us up to fail from the start?
I mean, think about it for a second. Almost all the advice you hear about changing your behavior is focused on this idea that you just have to dig deep and find more willpower. You know, just power through it. But motivation, it's fickle. It comes and it goes. Relying on it is kind of like trying to sail a boat that doesn't have a rudder. You're just completely at the mercy of the wind.
And that brings us to the work of this guy, B.J. Fogg. He's a behavioral scientist who founded the Behavior Design Lab at Stanford University. And Fogg basically argues our entire approach is, well, it's backward. He says the real secret isn't about finding more motivation. The secret is to design behaviors that barely need any motivation at all.
So how do we actually do that? Well, it starts with understanding the basic physics, if you will, of human behavior. Fogg came up with this amazing model that explains why we do every single thing we do, from, checking our phones to brushing our teeth.
And this is the real deal. One reviewer called his work the mother lode of books on habits. The Fogg behavior model, it's this super simple but elegant framework that's kind of like a universal key. Once you get it, you can design pretty much any habit you want. And even better, you can figure out why an old habit you're trying to build just isn't sticking.
And here it is. The formula is so simple, it's beautiful. Behavior happens when three things come together at the exact same moment: motivation, ability, and a prompt. B equals MAP. And here's the kicker. If just one of those things is missing, the behavior will not happen. End of story.
Okay, so what matters most is how these three things work together, right? The prompt is the trigger, the cue to do something. Motivation is how much you want to do it, and ability is just how easy it is to do. But here is the absolute game changer. It's the relationship between them. If a behavior is incredibly easy, like your ability is super high, then you need almost no motivation to do it when you get that prompt. And that is the secret.
Okay, so if we can't count on motivation, we've got to focus on the two things we can control, our ability and the prompt. Let's start with the prompt. And there's this brilliant technique for it, popularized by author James Clear, who gives a lot of credit to Fogg's work. It's called habit stacking.
The formula is it's pure genius, because it takes the habits you already have, the ones that are totally automatic, and uses them as the prompt for your new habit. So you're not trying to invent a new trigger out of thin air, you're just latching a new behavior onto a routine that's already on autopilot. It's like your brain already built a highway and you're just adding a new little exit ramp.
So let's see how this actually works. After I pour my morning coffee, that's the prompt. Or after I take off my work shoes, that's the prompt. See? These aren't things you have to remember to do, they just happen. So when you link your new habit directly to them, the cue to act becomes totally obvious and automatic. But, and this is super important, for this to work, your prompt has to be crystal clear. James Clear talks about this a lot. A vague cue, like when I take a break for lunch, that's just setting yourself up to fail. But a specific one, like when I close my laptop for lunch, now that is a trigger you can't miss. Ambiguity is pretty much the #1 enemy of taking action. Okay, so we've got the prompt part covered with habit stacking. Now let's talk about the ability part of Fogg's model. This is where the magic really happens. This is where we make the habit so incredibly small, so easy, that it becomes almost impossible not to do it. Let's check out some really powerful examples.
So simple, right? Starting your day with water. We know from research that even being a little dehydrated can cause brain fog and make you feel tired. So let's stack it. After my alarm goes off, I will drink the glass of water that's already on my nightstand. Boom. It takes maybe 10 seconds, but it sets your brain up to win for the rest of the day.
All right, how about this one? Just 1 ounce. That's it. This tiny little amount, if you add it to your daily routine, can have a massive impact on one of the single most important parts of your health.
And get this, the payoff is huge. Just 1 ounce of walnuts a day, that's around 5 servings a week, is linked to a staggering 25% lower risk of dying from cardiovascular disease. I mean, that is an absolutely incredible return on your investment for just a tiny little snack.
Here's another perfect tiny habit. What's the prompt? Finishing your lunch or dinner. The new habit? Just a quick 10-minute walk. And the benefit is immediate. Research shows it helps stabilize your blood sugar, which is so critical for your metabolic health and keeping your energy levels up.
Okay, one last number for you. 50%. Now this might be the most surprising and honestly powerful statistic of all. It has nothing to do with diet, nothing to do with exercise, but it can have a bigger impact on how long you live than even quitting smoking.
So what is it? A massive study found that people with strong social connections have a 50% increased likelihood of survival. Think about that. Low social interaction is actually more harmful to your health than not exercising, and it's twice as harmful as obesity. So what's the tiny habit? How about this? After I get in the car to drive home, I'll call a friend. It is, quite literally, a life-extending action.
Okay, so we've seen the science, we've seen the proof. Now it's time to bring it all home. Because the goal of this whole system isn't just to learn something new. It's to start something new, like right now, today.
This is probably BJ Fogg's most famous example, and it's just perfect. He says, make your first habit flossing just 1 tooth. Now, the goal here isn't amazing dental hygiene, at least not at first. The goal is to make the act of simply taking out the floss totally automatic. When you anchor flossing 1 tooth to brushing my teeth, you lower the resistance to absolute zero. Come on, you can't say no to 1 tooth, right? And what happens? Pretty soon, 1 tooth becomes 2, then 3, and before you know it, you're flossing all of them.
And this brings us to the final and maybe most crucial piece of the whole puzzle. Fogg says what actually wires a habit into our brain isn't just mindlessly repeating it, it's the positive emotion we feel when we do it. So after you floss that 1 tooth, you have to celebrate. Seriously, do a little fist pump, give yourself an internal, yes, I did it. That little feeling of success is the signal that tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's do that again.
So, at the end of the day, real, meaningful change doesn't come from some giant leap of willpower. It comes from tiny, super well-designed steps that you repeat consistently. Steps that make you feel successful. So forget about those grand, sweeping resolutions. The real question is this: what's the one ridiculously small, can't-say-no action you're going to start today?